That'd be all part of the long-term plan. You
Yes.
just need to have a long-term plan.
Right.
I'll go back to what Lisa said early on, we had to have goals. You know, we don't even have a good 5-10 year plan for growth of the city.
So we need to come up with a long-term plan, which I haven't seen one. Not saying one does not exist, but a long-term plan for this community so we have goals to reach. If we don't have goals, we're going to fail.
I agree with Lisa, and I'm also for the idea of planning. I listen to one person and they really want growth and expansion and more businesses, more homes in Tombstone, and then I talk to another person and they go, no, I don't want any more growth. It's getting too big as it is, let's keep it small. So I think along with the idea of the city actually planning a development of Tombstone from what it is to what it could be, it needs to have community involvement.
I agree. One thing we need to work on is our image. I mean, we got buildings, for example, the Bella Union and Adobe been set for 15 years empty. Looks bad when you come into town. And that isn't really growth. That's just taking care of what we have.
There is a plan, and if growth occurs in Tombstone, it will happen in South 80, south of town, out toward the airport in that direction.
Like you talk about affordable housing and stuff like that.
Yes, right. And until we get affordable housing, means investors coming in and investing in housing. Until that happens, we're not going to have any noticeable growth because, for example, since the 30th of May, I live on Toughness Street, and in almost rock throw, we lost 6 people within 6 weeks. I hope that average doesn't hold up, but we're losing more people than we have moving in to town. And one of the main reasons they don't move in is because of the available, suitable housing.
And so is there a plan to attract people to builders? Or?
Well, you can talk to builders, but would you rather build a $80,000 house in Tombstone if you're the builder and sell, or you'd rather build a $300,000 house in Sierra Vista and sell, and there's greater profit in the $300,000 than there is in an $80,000 house. So, you know, it's kind of a catch-22.
That really has to be done. We have no idea how many people that we're scaring away from bringing any investment or business to town. As I visited here over the years, I always paid attention to what was open, what was closed, what had changed hands. And even when I moved down here and purchased the building, I thought, and even other people I knew, and a buddy of mine that was with me when I was visiting, we walked around, he said, "You sure you want to come down there? It looks like the town is dying again." And I said, it kind of looks that way in a lot of places, and it doesn't have to. There's easy and cheap things that can be done to keep up the appearances of vacant buildings. It's not possible to keep every, especially commercial building, occupied all the time. It's not possible anywhere. But you can improve the appearances of those vacancies and make things look more presentable so that somebody that's thinking about moving here and buying a house or building a business isn't afraid that they're throwing their money down the drain.
And I have to just acknowledge that I've been making phone calls to the people in my ward asking how I can earn their vote. And one of the most common responses is, stop people from dumping junk, and can you clean up the community? I follow up with the question to find out, is this private or public land, so that we can figure out how to address those. I've done some research and checking with other towns and how they handle scenarios like that. And I have already made a promise to someone who's not even in my board that I would definitely ensure that if I am elected, one of the first things I will be asking for is a review of the ordinances to find out how they are specifically stipulated and determine our ability to enforce or rewrite the ordinances.
A lot of historical areas will have, in their historical area, they got ordinances where if a person comes in and buys a building, they got so many months or whatever to get that building operable. And we have people come and, like you say, buy a building and sit on it. I mean, there's a couple on Main, right on Allen Street that have been sitting empty for years, and that's, the fronts, even the front isn't fixed up, you know. So, I mean, it'll probably have to be a put to the public, but I think that's time we do that. Is put an ordinance in where these buildings in our historical district are not maintained, there's gonna be a fine. And have them operable, because they should be part of the community. If they're gonna buy it and just sit on it, that doesn't do our community any good at all.
We've had people ask for private parking in front of their place because they got tired of when we had special events, people parking. We could not do that because everybody in town would want everything around their house to be private. You know, you're open a can of worms when you do something like that. You have to stop and think what's going to happen later, not what's happening right now. And I know there's a lot of houses on every street, the first block down to Stafford, where cars park when there's Eldorado. There's always a big crowd at Eldorado. Well, we cannot give special permission to someone to have a private parking spot in front of their house.
Okay, I believe what she's asking about is code enforcement for people that have junk yards, old cars that aren't tagged, their houses are dilapidated. And
They just have junk in front of their house.
Go ahead. That kind of thing.
May I address that, please?
Yeah.
As you know, we have many codes, many ordinances. Some are enforced vigorously, some are neglected. They are not enforced. I can't tell you why they're not. But on any issue that you have, and you think there's a code that pertains to it, we have a complaint form at City Hall. Anybody can go in and ask for one. And you fill that out stating the nature of your complaint. And it is addressed, I can promise you that. It may not be the answer you want or what you get, but that will be addressed.
So the suggestion that was made, and it was from a new resident who worked for Public Works in their previous position, and their community puts out dumpsters at certain parts within the community. And I know we all have a free dump day, I'm not negating that, but I will tell you that I have no means of transporting it unless I borrow a truck from a friend. My thought was we see how that would impact us financially, and if that's something the city can do, and then maybe ask community members who do have vehicles if they could help the elderly who have no vehicle, or the young who have no vehicle, to get that stuff to the dumpster. But then, there could be a cleanup day where that's all done, or a cleanup week where that's all done. So the people who have the inability, we can find volunteers in the community to help with that.
Yes.
Sometimes there is, like the senior center who does so much for all these people. Again, the senior center is awesome about helping out everybody out. You would know more about it, but I know they've asked for help and some labor at times, and
Well, one thing I love about the senior center, now they won't let you take the meals out, and that's understandable. The virus is not as bad before. We couldn't sit in there or anything, and so now, but if someone needs a meal, all they have to do is fill out a form, and that meal can be delivered to them. No one is going to go without food if they need it, if we get this done. So that's a great program that we have here in town.
Can somebody tell me who code enforcer is? I'm sorry?
There is
Who's
not.
the code?
And that could and should be changed. Within open meeting laws, there's plenty of room to allow comment on individual agenda items instead of only a brief open call at the beginning.
And going back to my experience on the school board, I always went back to the people. If it was something about teachers, I'd say, well, what do you think on that? Right into the audience. We have that ability to ask people what they think, whether it's before a meeting or during a meeting. I will acknowledge that the open meeting laws in the beginning we don't have the ability to communicate with you. Whatever you ask for, we can't answer you. However, there's no reason why that question cannot be broadcast on the website with the answer so that you know it. There's no reason why, if it's an agenda item, that your question is not answered during that topic. And if whether you were in my ward or not, if you came to the meeting and you asked that question, when it came time for that item on the agenda, I would make sure that you had your answer.
I feel like if they're interested and concerned enough, they'll make the time to go and see what's going on. I know before I ran again this term, I went to the council meeting for over 6 months because I wanted to see what the council was doing now.
In Ward 4, I get a lot of calls about, in fact, like the lady was saying about vehicles on properties and things like that. And you know, I do what I can to take care of them. And like we've all said, it's an effort of all of us, not just the 4 of us, but Public Works, City Hall, to get all this done. And it's sometimes it is tough.